And so now, coming towards the end of the race, you can see there is Ayrton Senna, and right behind him is Alain Prost.
Jumping live to the race now, and Prost has caught Senna. He's been catching himself. This Senna appears to be in some sort of tyre trouble and struggling a bit, but can Prost pass him?
Just look at this. This is a 69-lap race. This is lap 60. Ayrton Senna leads. Right behind him is the reigning world champion, Alain Prost, who has already won for Ferrari. And Nigel Mansell is in third position. In fourth place, it is Nannini. Up to fifth has come Berger after a sterling drive. Sixth is Boutsen. Seventh is Alesi. And down to eighth position has gone Piquet. But what a fight for victory. Prost is really pushing Senna.
Yes, it's been a fantastic day for Ferrari. They struggled in qualifying, particularly Prost. 13th on the grid he started. He was patient as usual. Prost now pressing, but he'll have to let Senna go through the quick one first. You can't pass into that. Now, let's have a look at the straight line speed of the Ferrari compared with the McLaren. Mansell right there now, because Senna is, if anything, holding Prost up. Prost had passed and pulled away a little bit from Mansell, and look at this. Now, Prost is going to be very keen. Prost diving inside. Senna, I'm sure, is in tyre trouble. And Alain Prost goes through. On board with Ayrton Senna now. But Senna definitely struggling for grip. Prost will be happy to have him protecting Mansell, but he will want Mansell to pass for second place, because he'll want that the extra 2 points taken away from Senna.
This is terrific. This is the first time that Ayrton Senna has been passed fair and square, except by Alesi at Phoenix. And there's a problem there. We just saw a flash of it. Marshall jumping up and down. But on lap 61 in this 69-lap race, Alain Prost, who won in Brazil, has passed Ayrton Senna, and I think, as James has said, that Senna has got a tyre problem, and that means to say that Mansell can probably take him as they come out of the Peralta and into the fast section down towards the series of 10 bends. And if Ferrari finish first and second in this race, that is going to really give Grand Prix racing the fillip it needs.
Yes, and I think the problem you saw on the infield there, Murray, was only a Ferrari fan. I think one of the marshals might have been a Ferrari fan, because that was just seeing Prost in the lead. Now, Mansell. He's in the tow. They seem quite evenly matched on the straight, but of course Mansell has the advantage of the hole in the air and ducking out, and for sure Senna really can't respond. He's quite clearly struggling for grip, and switching to the onboard camera in Senna's car, and just watch Mansell power away from him there. So, and that will make Alain Prost very happy indeed, because this is now a matter of points for the Drivers' World Championship, and if they finish as they are, Prost will pick up some 5 points on Ayrton Senna's lead in the championship, so long as Mansell provides the buffer between them.
Well, this is certainly not Brazil's day. Out of the World Cup, and now Ayrton Senna down to third place, passed fairly, squarely, no argument, no contention. In fact, you probably saw Senna, who's dropping right back now, wave his hand to Nigel Mansell out of the right side of his cockpit to say, pass me on the right. He's given up. He's driving for a finish now, and the race order on lap 62 in this 69-lap race: Prost leads, Mansell second, Senna is in third place, Nannini is in fourth position, in fifth position it's Boutsen, in sixth place it is Alesi, and in seventh place it's Nelson Piquet.
Yes, and one person who won't contest for second place is Nigel Mansell, of course, and I doubt very much whether the Ferraris have any orders, and I'm quite sure that he will be chasing Prost for all he's worth. But to be fair, Prost has caught and passed him as they were both racing hard on the road, and they were chasing Senna. And I think Prost has been consistently faster, although only marginally, than Mansell from behind when they were clear on traffic, and I think Prost seems to be just have that little edge. But believe me, Mansell will not have given up, because I'm quite sure he'd like 9 points just as much as Alain Prost would.
Yes, this is very important for both of them, especially as arrangements for the 1991 season are now being made. But you're watching the quite incredible Alain Prost, 3 times a world champion, He has scored more World Championship points in a season than anybody else. He scored more World Championship points in total than anybody else. And he has already won 40 Grand Prix, and that is a record too. Well, we're seeing a change of scenery here in Mexico. Ferrari always said in the season that when they got to the faster circuits, and that means France coming up and of course Silverstone, which is just 2 Grand Prix from now, that they would start to close the gap between themselves and McLaren. They are certainly proving that here, 7,000 feet up in Mexico, and who is that off? That's Nigel Mansell spun off. But he's certainly lost his second position to Ayrton Senna, but he regains the circuit. Fortunately, he hasn't touched the wall, but he'll be down to third position. Alain Prost leads, Senna in second place, Nigel Mansell in third position. Fourth now is Berger. In fifth position, it's Nannini. In sixth place, it is Boutsen, followed by seventh, Alesi. And in eighth position, it's Nelson Piquet. And that's a McLaren with a tyre problem. And it's Senna. Senna is out of the Mexican Grand Prix. And this is lap 64.
Yes, and I think the tyres are just starting to wear out, because when we saw Mansell pull away from that spin, I didn't like the look of Mansell's right rear tyre either. And it's the right rear that's got on Senna's car. And I was just about to try and get the mic to say that that looked a bit blistered on Mansell's car. So it looks as if survival of the tyres just to do the distance looks very marginal to me. Well, in fact, it didn't make it in Senna's case, but that means that both Prost and Mansell are going to have to be careful. Now, there is Mansell, he's recovered from his spin, got going again, and that was Berger just coming into the picture behind him. Berger just coming onto the straight now. Now, if Mansell's in tyre trouble, Berger had a stop earlier, had a fresh set of tyres on sometime between lap 10 and 20, therefore he should not be under threat of his tyres wearing out. And also should have a good bit more rubber left on them than either of the two Ferraris.
This is lap 65, 69 lap race order. Alain Prost is leading Nigel Mansell as Senna limps back to the pits. He's determined to get in and try to get a new wheel and tyre, but really he is history now, because third is Senna's teammate Gerhard Berger. Fourth is Nannini. Fifth is Boutsen. Sixth is Alesi. John Alesi in the Tyrrell V8 is in sixth position and in the points yet again. Another brilliant drive by the Frenchman on a circuit which the Tyrrell does not suit particularly well. A lot of speed is required and real power, and of course the Tyrrell has got less of both than the McLarens and the Ferraris ahead of him. But now, with just 4 laps to go after this one, as that caption confirms, Alain Prost looks as though he is on his way to his second Grand Prix victory for Ferrari. He won in Brazil ahead of Berger and Senna. Senna is out of the race, and the race order now is Prost, Mansell, Berger, Nannini in 5th place, Boutsen in 6th place, Alesi in 7th place, Piquet, who was of course second for a long time. In 8th position it is Martin Donnelly. In 9th place it's Patrese, and into the pits comes Senna.
Yes, now it's not easy to get the jack under the car, of course, so it can be a problem when the car's sitting down a bit with a flat tyre. And the other thing is that big piece of rubber around the rear suspension flails away and can very easily damage the rear suspension. No, Senna's getting out. He's reckons he's out of the points and had enough, and certainly he lost an awful lot of time limping round. So back with Alain Prost, now leading very comfortably. Mansell gave him some space. Senna dropped out. So Prost really just cruising to the line, doesn't have to push too hard now. And 3 laps to go. He will be fully aware of the situation. The Mansell dropping back, Senna out of the race where he would have seen Senna limping round. And of course, the pits can inform him on their radio. Now, Berger having a go at Mansell. Oi! Ooh, and that certainly was asking for an accident.
And that has taken Gerhard Berger up to second place, and I bet there's going to be some discussion in the pit lane afterwards. Gerhard Berger rocketed up to Nigel Mansell with everything locked solid and literally pushed his way through into second place. Prost leads on lap 67. They're coming up to the end of it now, just 2 laps to go at the end of this one. There's no way that I can see that Berger can catch Prost and do to him what he's just done to Mansell, but it looks as though Ferraris are going to be first and third rather than first and second, and I don't suppose they'll be too unhappy with that. Terrific achievement, but Gerhard Berger has come back after his pit stop from 11th place, and this certainly proves that the problems that Gerhard Berger had with fitting himself into the McLaren have been overcome, and it certainly indicates this picture that Nigel Mansell is not giving up. As usual, Nigel Mansell is fighting back, probably the grittiest man in Grand Prix. There is Prost leading. He is on lap 68 now out of 69, and watch Mansell, because he's coming up to try and retake that second place from Berger.
Tremendous fighting by Mansell. Berger's got the inside line. He's got the corner this time. And Berger arrived on the previous lap with everything locked up, but completely committed. Berger going a bit wide, and Mansell has pressured Berger into that mistake, but still Berger has the inside for the next corner. Mansell really climbing all over him. Tremendous fight for second place. So this is really something, because Mansell, I think, is on pretty tired tyres, more tired than rubber that Berger has, because Mansell's did Senna got a fresh, Berger got a fresh set after 10 or more laps, and of course that's a big advantage because the car's at its heaviest for those early laps. But Mansell still fighting on.
And this is Berger. Are we going to suddenly see the Nigel Mansell Ferrari come alongside us as we ride with Gerhard Berger on the last lap of the Mexican Grand Prix, with Alain Prost seemingly going to win it, and Mansell going round the outside. Incredible! Up into second place. He's regained that second place, and now he's fairly rocketing away from Berger on the last lap in Mexico.
Absolutely brilliant manoeuvre by Mansell, fantastically brave, but he did it because you go high into that corner, and if you get on the outside where it's a bit slippery, but marvellous stuff by Mansell. But it's not over yet. Berger's a great fighter too. But I would suggest to Mansell, keep it calm now. If you don't make a mistake, you've got him. And certainly Berger did not handle the pressure. Mansell gave him so much pressure at the start of that lap and harried him all the way round that basically I feel he panicked Berger into leaving room there. And that was tremendous driving by Mansell. Really good aggressive stuff.
Yes, and remember Mansell and Berger at Imola. Mansell wasn't at all pleased with the Austrian there when Berger made him spin, and here is Alain Prost, the world champion, winning in Mexico. Alain Prost wins for Ferrari, and it looks as though Mansell is going to be second.
Yes, tremendous drive by Alain Prost, typical of the man, fighting all the way, and here we are. Here's Berger chasing Mansell. Now, the view from Berger's cockpit, the very last lap, and Mansell's got a car in front, but he's led him through. Tremendous stuff, and Mansell holds on. The finish line is too soon, crosses the line. Great race by Prost, very typical, got his car set up right, drove very methodically through the field, and then fabulous stuff from Mansell and Berger just to liven us up over the last laps.